This is the Not Up Debate NUFD podcast. I am your host, BlastOffBe.
So, as I said, I appreciate you being on, coming to rock with us. But before we get into the topic of the day, I do want to allow you to have your shine, because that's what we do bring everybody on here to do. Is we want to make sure that they get the opportunity to put anything that they have going on, to the public. So, what you got going on right now?
I am currently, my son has a graphic design company called Zenity. I actually have on one of the shirts. This is his imaging.
We can't see that. It's kind of half a shirt.
Sorry, because it's like splits, like a stylish type thing.
Oh, okay.
That I was going for. But he has a graphic design company that's a year in now, called Zenity. You can follow Zenity on Instagram. I'm actually...
How do you spell it? Just
Zanity.
Okay.
At Zenity. No underscores, no capital letters, just straight Zenity. So make sure you check us out. Do custom design merch and also have like standard imaging, hats, jackets, sneaks, anything you want. We can spruce it up for you.
Oh, that's dope. So they send you the stuff and send it to him, and then he...
In most cases we have product. If not, then you can always bring us if you had a specific jacket or sneaks or something that you wanted to have a custom piece on, we can do it for you.
Cool.
Yeah, so, and then also I am in my testing phases to start a candle line called Char Essentials. So there'll be organic soy-based candles, and I'm gonna have different flavors, some for the men, some for the women.
So with this testing, I'm slow.
Because making a candle, so I gotta make sure that scents and everything are coming out. The aromas are good. The candles don't look messy. Wax is all aligned. My wicks are in place. Labels and everything are clean and everything. So they should be out in the fall.
Okay, dope. And where are you gonna make your? You gonna have an Instagram page for that?
Yes, I do have an Instagram page started now.
Sorry.
Yes, I do have an Instagram page started now called Char Essentials. That's CharsEssential.
It's like a spelling bee.
Yes.
You spell
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I almost forgot how to spell, but yeah, Char Essentials on Instagram for my candles, Zenity for your graphic design merch on Instagram.
That'd be a problem if you forgot how to spell your own stuff.
I know, that would be
I
horrible,
would
right?
judge the fuck out of you. How you don't know how to spell your own shit?
Listen, I'm not a killer in the bee, okay? I try.
Okay, Char B.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a killer in the bee.
Before we move on though, because I want to make sure we treat everyone, and we welcome everyone. We forgot to give out a clap.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. So so the topic of the day, I think is going to be something that's real spicy. It's real spicy. So I was perusing the interwebs as I do, and I came across something. And this young lady had a video, and she really went in and dug in really deep about this topic. And I just I don't agree. So the topic of the day is there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. It's absolutely, it's a fallacy. It's false. There's absolutely no such thing as it. So before we get into it too deep, what is your first impression after hearing? First of all,
before you do that, how about you define what that is?
Define what. So sure. I got my notes right here.
I want to make sure.
Let me get the notes, because I got my notes. I did my research. I did my research.
I'm not being biased.
Yeah. So toxic masculinity refers to the notion that some people's idea of manliness perpetuates domination, homophobia, and aggression.
Okay.
So that's where we are right now.
Okay.
All right. So what is your first impression, Miz? What's your first impression?
I don't know if I agree with that, with your statement.
Okay. With the topic? There's no such thing.
I think there may be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I personally feel.
Okay, cool. And what do you think? What's your first impression of the topic?
My first impression, right. Yeah, right. There's toxicity everywhere, especially in men.
Love that. I'm glad you said that.
Especially in men.
So I tried to keep it already, try to keep it balanced, try to make sure we don't. But she coming in off the
You
rip.
said my first thought is like men toxic.
Yeah, absolutely.
All men. You just flat out.
Not all of them. But a good, I'll take that back. everybody has their certain parts of toxicity. I'll say that.
Thank you. Because actually, that's absolutely
and
where I'm going.
It's levels to the toxicity.
That's absolutely where I'm going. Okay. So, with that being said, if there's such thing as toxic masculinity, is there such a thing as toxic femininity?
I would agree with that.
You would agree with that. What is toxic? So, we read what toxic masculinity is, right? What would you consider to be toxic femininity? I got my notes.
Yeah, because I need a definition.
Yeah. I got my notes.
I would think it would be the same thing, thinking that women are supposed to be boxed a certain way. They're supposed to be like this. They're supposed to only do this, or women are just for this. Just the way they say that, all men are homophobic, or all men are supposed to build, or all men are supposed to be this way.
Okay. So let me pose it to you a different way. Since you said that there's toxic masculinity and there's toxic femininity, doesn't that just mean that there's toxic human beings?
Of course.
So why are we defining the male, like it's a male trait, as toxic masculinity? And actually, let me bring my notes about toxic femininity. So let me go into this.
Y'all the lead.
I think this is where we have a divide. I'm not saying that there's not toxic people, there's not toxic traits. So the topic of this show is there's no such thing as male toxicity, right? So yes, those traits are toxic. They are specific to that person or those people, whoever is giving those type of traits off, who's ever displaying those traits.
A group of people think, right?
But no.
Men in a specific culture. Because it's not just them two.
Hold on. So no, it's not. But you're from that same culture. Do you think the way they think?
No, I don't think the way they think.
You're making my point.
No, but
you're
that
making
doesn't
my
mean it
point.
doesn't exist.
You're making my point.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
So that means that those specific individuals, that toxicity is specific to those individuals.
Right.
Because if I take something and I like we're putting it for men, right? We're saying this is about men. If I switch that around and say all black people are toxic, then it's a problem. Right? Because I'm saying I'm putting this word and making it part of that group of people.
I'm not saying no. She said.
No, I didn't.
And then she walked it back. She walked it back.
Yeah,
she walked it back. But I'm not saying all.
No, I got you. So, but that's why I'm saying the term toxic masculinity. When you equate toxic to masculine, I don't think that to males. I think it's toxic human beings. They may display toxic traits, and those people, those human beings may have similar traits, and they're displaying the same ones. But I don't think that we can say that it's the male that's toxic. Hold on, let me go into toxic femininity because we never got there yet, right? Okay. So let me go into toxic femininity. Toxic femininity is a term used by men's rights activists. Toxic femininity is a term used by, I'm too excited right now because I'm ready to read this shit. So, toxic femininity is a term used by men's rights activists to construct a false equivalence between toxic masculinity, a manifestation of patriarchy that both harms men and causes men to be violent and aggressive. Against women and occasionally other men, and patriarchal limitations on women's gender. Come on, like this is basically what you're saying is both toxic masculinity and what this is saying is that both toxic masculinity and toxic femininity is an issue that men have. It has nothing to do with women. So going back to what your definition was, and I actually respect your definition. I can appreciate that because that's what I'm talking about. It's balance, right? It's yin yang. So if there's toxic masculinity, then there's absolutely toxic femininity. I don't agree with your definition, but the fact that you said that there would be a thing as such as toxic femininity, then I would agree with that and say, okay, if we're going to argue that there is toxic masculinity, then we have to argue that there is toxic femininity.
Right.
But the note said, and what this young lady wrote about, and it was a long soliloquy, like I had to read through like 3 or 4 pages just to pull out some of these excerpts. So when I pulled out these excerpts, it's like, listen, you're saying that the male toxicity and the female toxicity both affect males and adverse, both are displayed by males and adversely impact women. So both are bad. It's traits that men have and are bad towards women. That's bullshit.
But you gotta think about it. Like, as men being the head of things, are supposed to be the head.
That's a fallacy too.
A lot of stuff starts with y'all. I mean, it's in the Bible.
Yeah, and no, I understand. But here's where I would differ. So when we talk about men male and women gender roles coming from the Bible, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the male role to
lead.
Give me a moment. It's the male's role to bring home the meat, to bring home the prey. Like they went and caught something, they bring it home. Mm-hmm. But it's the woman's role to cook it, right? So basically, what I'm saying is, the male's role is to create the house or get the house, but it's the woman's role to make it a home. Mm-hmm. The person who makes the home is really the head, no matter what you say, because that's the same way that if there's, and I don't really want to get into this, but if there is a biracial child, right? Mm-hmm. Biracial child, whatever the mother is of that biracial child is what the child actually winds up being. The father really has. He either is, even if he's in the child's life, he either succumbs to whatever the mother says, and I'm taking this from a black-white perspective. So I'm gonna be honest. So if the mother is white, then the child actually has more white traits. They don't know how to do black hair. They don't know how to interact with black people for the most part.
Depending on the family.
Yeah, no.
Depending on the family.
This is something that I've done a little bit more research on.
I
too.
mean,
but there's always
a lot of cases, but I would say depending on the situation. It's not all cases.
Perfect. I'm glad you said that.
Not all cases.
So let's take it back to toxic masculinity. So again, based on what you just said, that it's not all cases. It's just some. I'm sure the law of averages say that it's this, but not all. Right. That's the same thing with toxic masculinity. So it's not going to be. I don't think you can attribute the toxicity to just being masculine. It's toxic people. You have
some of the traits come from parts of traits of men. It's almost like traits that we already kind of born with. Some dudes that can't control it or exert it a certain type of way, like aggression. So you can't say that. That's almost like saying, like, I'm gonna take this to like, and I ain't want to go.
Are you saying you're aggressive?
But hold on 1 second. It's like saying, like, racism, right? Just because some people are racist, you're almost equating like, no, either everyone's racist or no one's racist. Right. It can't be that way. Right. Even within racism, there is some people that are that way. There is some men that are that way. There's a lot of cultures that are that way. A lot of history is that way. Like, let's not, like, are we really gonna sit here and act like women have just basically been things to men for throughout many of cultures, many of what? Okay.
I
thought you said disagreement. Okay. So we can't sit here and act like this hasn't been throughout the history of men for the most part. And when you say a trait, being aggressive, I mean, there's women that's aggressive too. And nothing is all everything. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That nothing is all. You're trying to say it's either all or nothing.
Right. No, I'm not.
It's a spectrum.
So that's where we lost each other, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying if there is one, then there is the other.
Yeah.
There's a top.
I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with that either. That's an argument that racists use. Back to people. So
what do you mean? I'm lost.
What do you mean, white people? There's no way. You're racist. And I'm not saying. And you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. People that are racist, they're real quick to flip it back. Right now, there's a whole thing about that. Yeah. Right. Of the whole GOP talking about now. We're not doing politics like that. But all them talking about now, they're the victims.
Well, now the definition of racism doesn't allow any person of color in this country of America to be racist against white people. Period. But the actual definition disallows it.
But they use that argument you're using. So I'm trying to tell you, you're using some of the logic that these people use in your argument.
My argument is only that if there's one, there's another. Because always, if there's a yin, there's a yang. That's the balance of the world. But when Char said, you said that.
But I look at it, there's one is another. There is and there isn't. That's how I look at it. You're trying to make it like exactly like a 180. I'm looking at it, you're either this or you're not. It doesn't mean because you're this, you automatically have to be on the other side or the other way around. That's the way it's like racism. That's the way I look at it. There's men that are like that.
There are.
There's no way. Like I said.
I'm not saying that, and that was never my argument that there's not.
Okay.
But my thing is, I'm attributing that to the person. I'm attributing that to that's their personality. They are toxic people. There are toxic women out here that are horrible, that have done some horrible things.
So many factors.
But am I saying that they're toxic?
But there's so many factors that starting with their upbringing, their parents, what they saw as children. So you can't just say someone's toxic. Most people get that way because of something. Because of something that led them to that.
That's not the same with men. It's not their upbringing. It's not what they went through. It's not how.
Yes, it is. I said it with society and the culture. I just brought up my dad and my brother. You talking about raising people? Are you serious? I just brought that up.
But my point is that we're making to me, we're making the same point. I'm saying the only way we defer, or only place where we defer, is that it's either to the specific individual or to the entire culture. It's one or the other.
But I don't look at it that way.
That's what you're saying. It's toxic masculinity. It's
I'm saying there is some cultures that way. Right. And even within that whole culture, there's some people that not. Because
that's the point, though. That is.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You're trying to sit here and act like it doesn't. That you can't call it that, or it's not that, because all of us are either that way or not. That smile means something too, by the way. It's not up for debate, by the way. That's what that smile meant. You might want to wrap it up.
So I think what I wanted to do is what we did, right? So I wanted to engage y'all in a conversation that was a little bit controversial, and the topic wasn't meant to be real. Like, it's not like I really absolutely believe that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. Right. What I wanted to do was engage in a conversation, because I think that there are things that are missed. Points that you brought up are things that aren't on the table when we just hear the term toxic masculinity. We don't say, all right, well, there's people who aren't, or there's cultural reasons why, or there's this and that. It's always, and then when I read the toxic femininity, it was basically the same as toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. It's horrible men, and they do horrible things to women. Yes.
I will give you this to help you out. They have labeled us, and toxic women don't have a label. Maybe that's what your issue is. Because we just call them toxic. They don't have a specific label. Because even if you try to define what you're trying to bring up, I mean, what I thought it was in my mind, like, there's no real definition. Even those people, they making this shit up as they go
absolutely.
That's what they think. There's no real study or no real literature on, as far as I know. It could be.
No.
But so what I think, what I might be thinking might be different than what you're thinking. That's on the women's side. But I just think they just call women toxic. They don't have a label. So maybe you could start that campaign. Let's find what we're going to label women to go off that, right? That's what we got to do.
We ain't going to do that. Y'all not going to start a campaign for that.
No. You're right. There's no campaign. I'm not leading that. I'm not championing that. But all of that was just a way for us to converse and engage in something that people choose not to engage in. Similar to the racist conversation. But I appreciate you being on, Char. It was lovely having you. I knew you was not going to back down from the topic
at all. I was thinking,
but I don't front. I think you guys was going to bump heads more.
Yeah.
I took over for you, right?
But we was on the same side of that.
Yeah, I wanted to see the fire between you guys. That's why I'm in the middle, by the way. This time.
I
was supposed to be the ref. I was supposed to be the ref this time.
In case things got hot and heavy in here.
Well, I do Look out for the next episode. I didn't even say, this is what, season 2, episode 3. Appreciate you, Char B, for coming out. Check us out, Not Up for Debate podcast, BlastOffBe.com. I'm BlastOffBe, that's Char B. This is MIG 7.2, and we out of here. And whatever I say, it's not up for debate, regardless of what they say.
BlastOffBe.
The Not Up for Debate NUFD podcast. I am your host, BlastOffBe.